live now. Hi, everyone, again, and hi, those who are just listening and watching our live streaming. Feel free to join the Mediaspace event link, and then you'll be a part of the conversation with the attendees. But first, we've got three special guests because our conversation today is dedicated to innovation in the media and advertising space. So we would like to ask them to share their views regarding the drivers of the innovation space in our industry, challenges, opportunities, and finally an advice. So first, I would like to ask Gavin to tell a couple of words about himself. And after your short introduction, please tell us what you believe the key drivers of innovation in the media and advertising space are currently.
Oh, me? I get to go first? Oh, it is such a pleasure. I didn't think of anything to say. Oh, that's a lie. I thought of so many things to say. My name is Gavin Dunaway. I'm the marketing director for the Media Trust. The Media Trust is a digital trust and safety company. I know that sounds so fancy. How do we break that down? We provide ad security. That includes both blocking bad ads on publisher pages, as well as screening and monitoring for malware and other unwanted content in ad streams, on ad platforms, that kind of stuff. We also do data compliance, digital governance. We do a lot of stuff. Happy to tell you all about that, but I'm not in pitch mode today, I swear. Sometimes I am remembered as the ad tech stash because I was the editorial director of Ad Monsters, a more supply side based ad tech trade company and conference company, put on publisher forums in North America, our ops conference. Still great stuff. I love the team over there, and I can't wait to go ops this year. I was called the ad tech stash because I had this wonderful bushy mustache. And then I shaved my head, and bushy mustache looked really weird. So no more of that. Anyway, let's talk about ad tech, right? And media. It's cliche, but the biggest driver of change is AI. It's everywhere, and there's so many fears about it, but it is really making a huge difference for better and for worse. I think we'll get more into the harder definitions of that. I know Jez has some fantastic material that he's written up. I was reading last night. Should definitely look at that report. But AI and third-party cookie deprecation, yeah, it's a boring one to talk about, but there's so many factors below it. The identity solutions, first-party data segmenting by publishers, advertiser data efforts, MFA. Made for advertising for those not into the latest acronyms. These are all connected to, their futures are all connected to third-party cookie deprecation. So it's hard not to use that one. Anyway, I think I've rambled on long enough. Perhaps someone else would like a chance to ramble?
Thanks, Gavin. You've put me in the graveyard slot after that passionate introduction. But no, it's a pleasure to meet everybody. My name's Jez Walters. I'm the editor-in-chief of MX3. We're a media events, business intelligence, and media insights company. We've got an event coming up in early March in Barcelona, MX3 Barcelona, and I'd encourage all of you to come along to that if you can. Again, like Gavin, the big story is AI, but there are a couple of things I want to say at the outset. Something that made a big, profound difference to me was last year at the Fit World Media Congress in Lisbon. And Dan Pacheco, who is one of America's great marketing analysts, said something very profound. He said, and I quote, "Innovation is not inventing something new. It's just about being 10% ahead of the rest of everybody." And I think that is so instrumental in everything we're seeing around AI. Don't worry if other people have already invented something. Can you iterate on it and be 10% ahead? And that's the fundamental thing I would like to share. But in saying that, I would also say calm down, in that AI, as it stands, hasn't really made a big transformative difference in the industries and the life that I lead. And I'll give you two examples, spell check and autocorrect. Have you seen a big difference in that in 2 years? I haven't. It's the same as 2 years ago. So if it hasn't really affected spell check and autocorrect, let alone email text and everything like that, the real innovation wave has yet to arrive. But what I would say, that leads on really well to what Tim Bond at the market research company Ipsos said. He said, we overestimate the impact of technological innovation in the short term. We underestimate it in the long term. And I'm old enough, I'm well into my 50s now, unfortunately, and I can remember the internet tech bubble of the late 90s. And this is a carbon copy. 98% of these AI companies are going to go away. I can promise you that. And this NVIDIA craze that's happening in the stock market now, that's going to have an 80% bust. Now, whether this will be a video that ages well, I'm not so sure, but I'm going to make that prediction. But we do underestimate innovation in the long term. And if I look at the late 90s, there was incredible hype. There was the tech bubble. But when I look at 25 years later, the difference and the profound effect it's had on my life, yes, I underestimated it then. So that's what I would like to say. And now over to Donia.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jess. I think some of the key drivers that I see from my perspective, before saying that, I sit in the programmatic space. I'm an ad tech professional with 16 years experience on the professional side, as well as multiple startups. And one of the key drivers that I'm seeing this year are these two topics, which are sort of related, that have been talked about in the past 2 years. We haven't really seen anything change. It's just things that we talk about at events. So one of them is sustainability within media, within programmatic, within how we buy, how we sell, on each part of the ecosystem. And the second one is attention metrics. So how do we buy better inventory online? You know, for those of you like agency side or client side today, how do you buy better? For those of you on the commercial side, how do you sell better? And how do we create an ecosystem where we're not all, you know, bidding on the same impression multiple times? And so that reduces wastage for the brands, because it means that they're bidding on better impressions. And, you know, from a environment standpoint, that means that we are creating less carbon. So for me, this year, from my standpoint, I think this year will be the year where agencies, brands, and big ad tech partners finally do something about it, rather than just say something or make, you know, pledges or statements. Like, we will see, you know, systemic change on how people actually buy and sell inventory online. And finally, to come back to the attention point, is that we will finally see that becoming a more serious metric. And I would be as bold as say that, you know, my hope is that by the end of this year, attention becomes the new viewability metric. We're not so much talking about viewability, but we are talking about attention, where we are combining, you know, the methodology of viewability. So is an impression viewable, but we are also, you know, sort of like superimposing, are people actually paying attention to it and buying those impressions and matching the right users to the right, you know, contextual environments. And I think that's going to be key to the success of companies that are trying to navigate deprecation of the third-party cookie.
Oh, thank goodness on that. I mean, the viewability was always supposed to be a starting point. Yeah, first we can tell whether the ad is actually on the screen. It was always supposed to, MRC says that the Media Ratings Council said this. We were supposed to go to the next level and be able to tell, are people actually doing something? Donia, can I ask you, I mean, you know, I hate to put you on the spot completely, but I mean, are you seeing any, is there any like measurement or metrics that interest you on that front, on the attention front?
What I'm seeing is a huge number of ad networks, SSPs and DSPs, large ones like the Trade Desk, you know, really, really big players out there, signing partnership contracts with attention measurement businesses. Like, one of the large ones in London is called Lumen Research, and everyone is using it in the background. So when they are going on their DSP to go and buy impressions, in addition to all of the tags that they're putting in the DSP. So viewability, impression, clicks, like whatever it is they need to measure. In addition to that, they're putting an attention tag. And so they are able to see what is the outcome of the campaign. They're taking some post-campaign data, and they are able to optimize their media buys, so reduce wastage and bid better. And these kind of companies are now building a predictive attention tool. So, based on like a mathematical formula, you're able to say that, this kind of impressions for this kind of target audience has like a 70% chance of like hitting, this kind of attention. And then obviously every brand has a benchmark of attention, but, if you apply that to social media, if you apply that to, any publishers, and any sort of like creative work, so any rich media company out there, we start having a really, really good backbone of data, that we can all as an industry start working on, and we'll see wastage going down, carbon footprint going down. And in the end, brands will feel more confident because they'll see a return on ad spend, and then we gain confidence back. Again, this is my hope. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I think, with the multiplication of these different metrics, it's only good news. So we just need to basically get on with it and start adopting these things.
I've got a question for you, Gavin and Donia. Actually, it's about attention. And we've been doing a bit of work with InsurAds, looking at what they're doing. And they've got this digital marketing warrant, and they're guaranteeing attention time. And they're also using AI to recycle ads very quickly. So if someone's given it attention, they can quickly do another ad. What's your perspective on their technology and the digital marketing warrant?
I'm not fully familiar with the methodology of what they do. What I do know is that Lumen in the UK use a human-based data, which I think is really important. So I think the basis and the crux of attention, whatever company we're talking about or is about to pop up, is that what is the quality of data, how is that data measured, and what is the methodology behind that, which is incredibly boring to talk about. But if we are not, very, intentional and very wary about what kind of data we're looking at, then we are making assumptions that are not correct. And then again, that's when the confidence sort of goes away. So do you know what kind of data they use? Do you know if it's human-based or if it's generated by AI and like a bulk analysis?
Donia, I don't, and I'd be winging it if I gave you an answer, I must admit. I just thought it was quite interesting they were using AI to guarantee attention, and actually we're underpinning it with digital insurance. But I'm more on the editorial side of the publisher rather than the ad tech, so I need to be careful.
It's very, very bold. I mean, from a go-to-market standpoint, that's like, wow. And I assume it's extremely appealing to advertisers. I imagine all these, there's another company I've known for a long time called Adelaide. I think they're a competitor with Lumen. Okay, good. I'm getting the nod. So yes, I wasn't totally off on that. But I've known them forever. The starter of Adelaide had another company called Parsec, which was, I think it was mainly mobile focused, but they actually worked on a cost per second model, which I found absolutely fascinating. I've always found the idea of like buying and selling on time, it's cross every medium. And it seemed to me to make a lot of sense, especially considering just, with TV in the US at least, and pardon me, my base is very US, is you are buying based on audiences, but it is time in the end that you are buying, and time and audience can be put together as we're all talking about right here. My wonder though is when does like standardization talk start? Like the Media Ratings Council is coming in.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we're talking about standardization, I'm seeing this on the sustainability front. So this year we will see there is an actual guideline being written as we speak, and this guideline hopefully should be out by the end of March. And by the end of March, we'll have actual standard, metrics, standard definition when we're talking about sustainability, about how do we measure carbon footprints, and how is it, tackled. And this is going on now 3 years of sustainability being at the forefront of the agenda. So I'm hoping that that will be the case, with attention as well, where a bit like what happened, with viewability, in 2018, where everyone just started, standardizing the definition of it, what does it mean, and, making those commitments to those levels of viewability, that they had, for example, like publicists said, like our standard is this, and WPP said our standard is that. I think it may be the same in attention. It's like any new thing, like there is a period of time where everyone is sort of like dipping their toes in the water, and then after a while, everyone is like, this is too chaotic, we need to standardize. So I don't think this year is that. I think this year, I'm hoping that everyone just give it a go and just keep bringing it to the forefront so we can have more information and we can have more use cases. So, we can actually put those business cases in front of board and say, now this should be an actual KPI that should stay. It's not something that is, fancy. It should be, and part of any campaign,
Yeah, I'm very curious about how that goes. And I've always wanted to see more experimentation here. And I think it's extremely hard to get the brands, the advertisers to kind of engage in that. They're very stuck in their own ways. In the US, you've got but something that's interesting in the US because of the disruption of CTV that forced a lot of the publishers and I say publishers, but I mean the broadcasters, the TV companies, to switch to more interesting guarantees and metrics. And I'm reading about before we have our big upfronts in the US right now, where the majority of TV advertising for direct sold TV is bought. There's all this talk of the business-based outcomes and guaranteeing against that, which I find absolutely fascinating. And I think the next level for attention metrics is being able to tie that together with the business outcomes. I'm very curious where this goes. There was a lot of success last year, and frankly, Nielsen just not owning the metric space in CTV, in TV in general, has been opened up crazy opportunities. Also, so much arguments. Every conference I go to, you have some measurement panel where Nielsen, Video Amp, and Comscore are all screaming at each other. It's entertaining the first time. Second or third time, it gets a little tiring, though.
I also think, Gavin, what you're saying about outcomes is really apt here. At one of the conferences we did, they were a couple of speakers were very, very clear about outcomes. They were saying that AI is not a solution in search of a problem. You must have a business need in mind. And the AI must be about finding its way around the problem you've got. But if you're just looking as AI as an innovation that's looking for a problem, then you've really missed the point.
So
actually, I wanted to come in first of all to thank you for our speakers. I love when they talk to each other and I don't need to ask any questions. But I would like to go back for a minute to what you said at the beginning, Jez, about the AI impact on the changes and what is needed and what is not. So my question is, and this is for everyone on the panel, that do you think that the current innovations solve the real problems that the industry is struggling with? Or this is just, what is coming, we are taking and it's going on its way? What's your take?
Well, the AI conversation is so wide. Jez, I'm actually going to disagree with you on that statement that we haven't really seen the impact, because I think we have, and that's through Google and Facebook, or sorry, Meta. Gosh, I'm never going to get used to that. Just show my age everywhere. But like both Google and Meta's ad businesses, what Google with more its display network with its I PMax and Meta's ad business just like shot back up, and the market is crazy about it. They are using AI technology to to influence their targeting, and it is having a big impact. Advertisers notice it, they talk about it. It's been very interesting to hear all these advertisers talk at conferences about building up their data infrastructures, their cloud, and talk about how they need so much more transparency from the trade desk and all their other media partners, and then dump a whole bunch of money into a black box like Google's PMax and Meta. But the thing is, they are performing. They're meeting what the advertisers want, and that is very AI driven. And I honestly think that is the future. One of the biggest uses of AI in our space is better ad targeting. Not just better or ad targeting, privacy-friendly ad targeting. Because, all right, so the advertisers have these giant databases filled with customer data, prospect data, you name it, stuff that they've been storing up. And now they throw the AI on it to crunch it and find the insights that they need. You throw that into an AI targeting algorithm, and you get the performance you want. And on top of that, a lot of this AI targeting, it's based on predictive behaviors. It's not necessarily deterministic IDs or third-party cookies that consumers didn't realize were dropped on them. So in theory, and the performance just builds on top of each other. To some point, you keep feeding it data, but at the same time, it's learning. So it's much more, it's probably not only effective, it's also privacy friendly. So that's been the huge effect of AI so far, and it's only going to grow. We keep talking about Google and Meta, but there are independent targeting algorithms that have gotten the notice, like Chalice Custom Algorithms. Very, very interesting company. Love all the people that work there, and I think they're making big changes in the space. I can keep going on about AI and where we've already seen it, but I would love to hear from Jez and Donia.
Well, I think that's very interesting. I've learned a lot there from that, because I'm more on the media side, less on the ad tech and advertising side. So I really didn't know that it had made such a big impact, particularly on Facebook and things like that. So that's a good piece of intel for me, really, around it. Regarding the publishers, I think we're much slower than ad tech to innovate, much slower. And I think that's one thing that these publishers are really going to have to improve on. If I look at Alan Hunter, who was the ex-head of digital of the Sunday Times at our conference in December, he was very, very clear. He said to all the publishers assembled that if they didn't innovate and quickly, they would probably just lose their place. And he said, there is a new generation of publishers, and I'm telling everyone in the room that this is an urgent problem. And I think publishers, particularly with 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 employees, unless they innovate, unless they test, unless they're willing to fail, unless they develop a culture of innovation across the board, I think in 10, 15 years' time, perhaps sooner, Gavin, they're done. Sorry, Donia, your turn.
I guess, from my perspective, just to come back to what Gavin said earlier around, AI, I feel that a lot of the companies that I personally worked for, have been using optimization tools like all along, but it just feels that some of those are now bucketed into AI and some of them are not. Some of them are more classic optimization techniques, and others are just like a proper algorithm trying to find, a specific, environment where you can achieve a completed view for this video. So, for example, I worked, for Tees, and it has always been the case that, the optimization from a completed view was always the case. That was always in the DNA of the business. So we can call that AI, but that was like much more before, all of this chat has started. And actually, interestingly enough, they're doing that with connected TV today and calling it AI, which basically will have the words now to basically call these things. But I would say that, just to come back on the Google and Meta point around privacy. I'm not so sure about privacy. I'm highly skeptical of those two businesses. And I'm really hoping that there will be a rebalancing, of the markets between, Google and Meta, as well as, on the other side, the publishers that are creating all this content. And, it's like really, really, important for us to keep the publishers as part of the ecosystem. So I think one of the challenges that I think we're facing this year is what advertisers are going to go after. Are they going to go after cheap impressions, or are we going to start maybe introducing ethics within the practices of ad tech? And that could be, of course, social has to be part of the mix, absolutely. At what level, at what proportion, that is, I think, up for debate. But there's some serious dangers around, some really high quality publishers that are producing content that is educating people, that, should be ethically, we should be able to do something to help those organizations thrive. And it's not going to make a massive dent into Meta or Google's revenue, because they're already such a monopoly of the market. So my point is, AI is a tool. I don't think it's an answer. So I agree with you, Jez. And since it's a tool, I'm hoping that publishers can just get it off the shelf, from any other ad tech company that they work with, and use it to their own, benefit. And I know that there's some UK publishers that are already trying to define how and what space does AI have within their business. So one of these publishers is someone I spoke to just last week was Reach. So it's a big UK group of massive, publisher. And they have AI tools that basically generate, recommendations of content based on the articles that you read. They are starting to use sort of like email marketing and newsletters, because these are really powerful tools today, and you can use them in a very clever ways. So I think there are tools out there to balance the AI as a tool, and let's sort of help publishers get the control back on their ad spend, because at the moment it's sort of being siphoned through third parties.
Yes.
I love when there is a debate. We've got 4 minutes for this part of the session, but we will move to the conversational part. So to finish this part, can I ask each of you to say just one piece of advice for the members attending today for 2024 regarding what your advice is in terms of handling innovation for their company? Donia, can I ask you to start?
Yes. My advice is going to be very boring and European, is don't believe what you read, which is basically there's a lot of sensationalism, I feel, especially around AI and around certain topics. I think there's no silver bullet. Like every single thing that we talked about today, sustainability, attention, AI, all of these things, it comes with pros and it comes with cons. So I think sit from your own perspective and within, from your role within the business that you operate, and see what can be useful for you, what can be useful for you to learn. But be wary that no tool is perfect. Every tool has downsides, which is why we constantly talk about optimization. And yeah, just do the background checks and don't be fooled by any sensationalism.
You took mine. Really? Took mine. But yeah, my first advice was, stay skeptical. And I think publishers and if publishers and media companies are much better about this rather than advertisers. Advertisers have a big tendency to see shiny thing and just go chasing. That adds a bunch of vendors into our space that are all of a sudden offering crazy tools. I mean, we didn't even get into brand safety or MFA and this little and made for advertising in this segment. I mean, those are causing great pain for premium publishers, and that's revenue that should be going in their pockets. It's not, especially if we want to talk about ethics and ad tech. I still think ethics and ad tech is a bit of an oxymoron, but I can go. I would love to see that change. We'll put it that way. But yeah, stay skeptical. I mean, with publishers in particular, what you should be looking at, don't AI is a buzzword. You look at things that dynamic optimization of both your revenue and your actual site. Look at the term dynamic. And even then, with like dynamic revenue services, you have to be very, very careful and see how it is that they're dynamically monetizing. Get them to explain it to you in 5 different ways. The other thing I want to say we did not come up with, and I think for publishers, advertisers, everyone, just keep your eye on retail media. And with big like retailers, publishers should try to cozy up with them as best as they can, because being able to get PMPs set up and get into curated marketplaces, great opportunity for premium publishers. The retailers have the data that advertisers want, and they're getting better and better at targeting off-site advertising. It's a great place to be. I am actually, as soon as this is over, I'm going to Commerce Week in New York to hear more about it. So one of the most exciting things that's happened in advertising, I probably should have led off with that, but I feel like we passed the hype train on that, and now it's just into the nitty gritty, like how do we get this stuff to work, which is more my field anyway.
Thanks, Gavin. You've left me in the graveyard slot again. Okay, so I've probably got a minute left, but what I would say is that this is a fundamental point. AI is only as good as the data that's fed into it. That's 100%, and that's the most important thing. It's only as good as the data that's put into it. And what I would say is I'd finish with a quote by Roxanne Fisher, who's the director of digital content at Immediate Media, one of Britain's biggest publishers. And she said this, she said, publishers must start experimenting now, but staff must be given permission to experiment. So if you have staff working for you, you must allow them permission to experiment and fail. And finally, she said, the biggest win with AI will be enhancing what you're already doing. So it will be innovation, but it will be about enhancing. It's a co-pilot, it's a tool. So that's my advice.
Thank you, Jez, and thank you everyone who was watching via our live stream. We are going to finish it now. Please join the conversation on the link that you can find on Mediaspace.global.